There you go. Hello and welcome again, everyone. We're so excited to start this discussion and have everyone on the call. Our discussion today is on women drivers in climate change and environment and disaster risk reduction. We're very excited to have amazing panelists today, environmental activists who dedicated their life to this cause. And of course, very happy to see so many of you joining us today and tuning in on a Saturday. I'm Ani. I'm going to introduce myself real quick. Ani Karapetyan, a member of the Armenian International Women's Association and one of the representatives of AWA UN team. And for those who don't know, this event is organized by AWA UN team as a side event during the United Nations annual 2-week conference called the Commission on the Status of Women. And some of you might know that the CSW is the global intergovernmental body exclusively dedicated to the promotion of gender equality and the empowerment of women. So the CSW conference will meet every year for 2 weeks, and they would advance and promote women's rights and gender equality. And for those who are not familiar with the work that AWA does, I'm going to introduce us real quick as well. AWA was founded in 1990 with the vision to be a women-led and women-focused organization that serves Armenian women globally, and we make impact through humanitarian aid, scholarship and entrepreneurship programs, as well as partnership with Women's Support Center in Armenia to help their beneficiaries who are mostly victims of domestic violence. Now, before we move to the more exciting part, just 2 housekeeping items. I think just one for now. If you have any questions, we encourage those. Please put them in the chat as we have our discussion, and I'll do my best to monitor the chat, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end, and we'll do our best to cover your questions. Well, without further delay, I'm really excited to introduce our panelists today. We'll start with Sheila. Sheila Morawati with us today is the president and the founder of 2 nonprofit organizations, Crayon Collection and Habits of Waste. She has a sociology degree from UCLA and has been successfully growing her nonprofit since 2013. And an amazing fun fact I know about Sheila is that she has a Guinness World Record in August 2018 for the largest crayon donation in history, with over 1 million crayons donated. So her nonprofit collects crayons from restaurants and donates to schools internationally. And her second nonprofit, Habits of Waste, is focused on finding solutions to shift the harmful habits of waste among mass society. And one of the amazing campaigns is that she convinced Uber Eats, Postmates, and Grubhub and other delivery services to default their settings in their applications globally so that no one receives plastic cutlery unless requested. We have Simi Amirkhanian next as a panelist today. She's the founder of Yes, a youth empowerment and sustainability nonprofit in Armenia, and she serves as a board member. She has over 23 years of experience with different international and local organizations, and her focus has been on education, infrastructure rehabilitation, youth, and emergency relief. And in recent years, Sime also consults different nonprofits, and she has been the judge for the initial phase of the project submitted for the Global Social Venture Competition in Berkeley, California. And she has been a Media Lab team member since 2012 of the Social Good Summit in New York. And last but not least, for sure, Jean-Marie Papelian is the executive director of Armenia Tree Project, ATP. And ATP mission is to assist the Armenian people in using trees to improve their standards of living and protect the environment. And it's guided by the desire to promote self-sufficiency aid those with the fewest resources, and of course, conserve the indigenous ecosystem. And we are really excited to have some special guests with Jean Marie today, Armenia Tree Project Eco Club members who are young environmental activists. You can see Satanik and her friends, and we'll hear from them today as well. Well, as exciting it is to introduce you, I'm even more excited to dive into the questions. So I really want to start with the journey, how you came upon the path of environmental activism and how you made that a passion. Sheila, why don't you go ahead and start us with how you decided to start your nonprofits? Where did the passion come from, and how did you come upon the path?
Well, thank you so much for having me here today. This is super exciting and an honor to be here among this amazing, esteemed group. So I really appreciate the chance to share my story. I think for me, I always tell everybody that my journey was, it was like a thorn in my side. And if I didn't do something about it, it was almost more difficult to just endure the feeling of frustration of what was happening out there. I was going to restaurants with my daughter, and she was a really picky eater. So we would go to this one restaurant repeatedly, and then we'd get 4 free crayons, and she was just a toddler. So she sometimes wouldn't even take them out of the box. And before I knew it, we're leaving and they're clearing the table and the crayons are going in the trash with it. And I just thought, we barely even use those. There's so many people who need these crayons. Why are we doing this? And not only is it bad for the planet because these don't decompose, but we're teaching this young baby, this child, that we are a throwaway society and a throwaway culture. So I realized I had a solution. I thought, okay, well, if we just start to collect them after kids use them and they're still good, we can get schools nearby to pick them up once a month, because here in the US, we had major budget cuts. So we're depending on teachers to use their personal earnings. So my journey began by finding this solution and wanting it to stick. But every restaurant I would call, they would say, well, are you a nonprofit? In order for us to be a nonprofit, you know, in order for us to work with you, you need to be a nonprofit. And so I said, okay, well, how do you become a nonprofit? And then you just start asking questions. And, you know, I always tell people, like, one step in front of the other, before you know it, you've got a lawyer in your network who knows exactly how to become a nonprofit, you know exactly what to do next. And then it just starts to flow. So that was my beginnings. And then it evolved into many more things. But I'm very happy that, you know, that moment in time came where I couldn't stop myself from actually doing something, because I felt that I had a good solution.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing, Sheila. And well, let's go to Jean Marie. Jean Marie, how you're doing some amazing things with ATP, and I know it's been founded before you joined. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you came to know about the organization and how you decided to join.
Well, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I've been watching AWA and admiring it since it was established here in Boston, 30 years ago? It's been quite a long time. So Carolyn Mugar, who is an Armenian American activist from the Boston area, established Armenia Tree Project. So we've had women leadership with this organization from the beginning. Carolyn was in Armenia during the very dark days of the early 1990s. Some of us will remember that. And she saw that people were cutting down trees, even in the city parks, just to burn them to heat their homes. And she foresaw that if Armenia survived all the other crises it was going through at the time, that it would have an environmental crisis on its hands. So she established Armenia Tree Project. And since that time, we've planted almost 7 million trees. We've revitalized communities. We've created economic opportunity. And as Carolyn says, the act of planting a tree is an act of hope. And what people really needed during those very dark times was hope. So I was in law school in Boston when the earthquake happened in 1988, and I became involved in a lot of different volunteer activities over the years to help Armenia. And I reached a point in my legal career where I realized that I was having more fun doing my volunteer work than I was doing my day job. And around that time, the original executive director of Armenia Tree Project had retired, and I knew some people who were involved in Armenia Tree Project. And so that's how I made the leap to now my full-time job is helping people in Armenia. And it's a wonderful organization with wonderful people. And you can see the slides that Ani's been showing while I've been talking. We've got women at all levels supporting us, and they do amazing work on behalf of Armenia Tree Project.
Thank you. And I already see a thread within what Sheila said and what you said. It started as noticing something that was wrong. It started as a passion, and it evolved into a career or a full-time dedication of your life to this. Seema, was that the case with you as well? How did your journey start? And how did you find your yes? And how did you decide to focus on environmental projects with all of the social issues that Armenia has?
Well, good evening from Yerevan, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today and to join these amazing women in this panel, and the younger ones too, future activists. Before going and talking about activism that I started in my personal journey, I would love to stop a little bit on what is YES doing and how it is connected to our activism. So yes, the Youth Empowerment and Sustainability was established with the main focus to bring together education and youth, and these are the two powers we believe are able to bring all the positive changes in our reality, in our society. And by educating, we say we mean educating in all different aspects of life, and that includes, of course, environment and care for our planet. During the past 7 years since its establishment, YES has been truly has changed the lives of over 1,000 girls and boys by providing them opportunities to learn coding, robotics, volunteering, finding their mentors to improve their education and build future career path. We also have provided opportunities to women and men who lost their jobs or had to change their life due to recent circumstances like war, and everything changed in our realities. So we have provided them scholarships to participate, to get the vocational trainings, and also tools to start their employment. And I don't want to stop more on our projects and personal stories which are really, really touching. So anybody who is interested can check our website, Facebook and Instagram page. And I would now like to say how environmental activism is connected to YES and how everything started. Like Sheila has mentioned, and probably so many things in our lives start from personal stories. And that is also the case with me. I have always been super conscious about everything that is happening around me in everyday life. And if you live in Armenia, you know that people mostly, I don't want to sound very strict, but people mostly don't care. We're not conscious about recycling, about reducing the use. We're mostly indifferent. We don't have that culture. And that is one of the things that needs a lot of patience and I think education. So what I started, I thought that at least personally for me, I'll do how I lived in the US. I did the recycling, I sorted out everything, I did the community work, I participated in tree planting and everything. And at some point I realized that I'm like all alone, and even my family and my neighbors are super surprised. Why am I doing all this if everybody else is so indifferent? Then little by little, I thought that maybe it's a reason to start telling people why it is important, why it influences our life, how it affects the future of our kids. And slowly, I have put all this, my personal experience, into projects that YES is doing. And in every program, we have environmental days, be it robotics or volunteering, we have environmental days. And we invite professional guest speakers who share their experience with the kids. We share theory with them, but also we do the practical work. And during the recent years, we have done so much, like we have cleaned up the Dilijan Memorial Park. We have planted trees around Ahmet Kisakyan and Shiraz Museum in Gyumri. We have partnered with secondary schools in Vanadzor and did the tree planting projects, and so much more. And well, we're still continuing to do. And in one of our projects, as an example, it was related to reading and books. Kids suggested getting books for the elementary schools. And then we decided to do it in a more interesting way and competitive way. So we came up with this idea to collect paper for recycling, trade it, and then buy the books. So everybody was surprised that in a couple of days, only in Yerevan, we were able to collect around 3 tons of paper and bought so many wonderful books for the elementary schools. So this is like my personal attitude. I have included it into our projects.
Oh, that's amazing. And I think what you said is that it's very hard to change habits, and it takes time and it's very slow. And Sheila is nodding. She knows that very well as the founder of Habits of Waste. One thing I was interested in, and I know about your work, but when I hear your take on what is a recent accomplishment that you are proud of or you're happy about, given that it's a very slow changing, slow moving progress, and it can take time to change habits and teach about environment and make sure that the right habits are in place. What is something, let's start with you, Sheila, that you're excited about, that makes you happy, and it's an accomplishment that you're proud of?
I think for me, I look at it like a series of events, and I think what inspires me a lot is I'll give you guys an example. One of the first things I did for Habits of Waste was the first plastic straw ban in the world, which was in the city of Malibu. I did that because in those same restaurants I saw the crayons, I also noticed that these straws are coming on the tables, no one asked for them, and there's just 500 million a day are being thrown away. So, and that's just in the US. So I thought, well, what can I do with this? So I go to the city of Malibu and I said, you guys are leaders. This is one of the most famous beach cities in the world. We have to be pioneers. So we requested this plastic straw ban and cutlery ban. And after we did that, and then you saw so many cities copy and make that, ordinance kind of go live in cities around the world, people said to me, well, what about the plastic cutlery? What about the plastic water bottles? The straws are nothing. And I said, but this is a door opener. This is a conversation starter for the next thing. So we went ahead and did the plastic cutlery campaign called Cut Out Cutlery. And I realized, with the background in sociology, human behavior is a key element to all of these movements that we're asking people to do, because people are busy. They're not thinking about plastic cutlery like we are, because this is our passion. So how do we insert ourselves into the mindset of general public and not be putting them in a position of guilt, shame, all those things? So all I did was I contacted Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, and Postmates 14,000 times through an email campaign that we created, asking them to change their default settings so that a user comes in and orders food, you just don't get plastic cutlery anymore. But then here's what's cool about that. We take that a step further and tell the California state legislature, look at what these huge companies have done. We need you guys to set the law so that every restaurant does this now. And they're looking at it saying, well, wow, restaurants are saving money. Postmates did this in 1 year. I'll give you guys a cool stat. Postmates did this in 1 year and saved 122 million packs of cutlery from entering the waste stream, but that equals $3.2 million in savings for restaurants. So here we have a win for the environment, a win for restaurants. And the bottom line is that it's an opportunity for people to, again, think differently. So this is a long answer to your question, but it's an evolution. And right now we got California that signed AB 1276. We've got state of Washington. Next is Massachusetts. A lot of places are starting to do this opt-in functionality for plastic cutlery. And the last thing I'll say is that again got us to, well, what about the water bottles? What about everything else that's plastic? And so we started another campaign called Lights, Camera, Plastic to remove all single-use plastic from TV and film, just like smoking, so that we denormalize it throughout society. So it's important to note that even though Malibu was one of my favorite things that I ever did, it wasn't enough, and it just built on that all the way up. So I think it's an important thing, it's a thread and it keeps growing and we keep pushing, but you can't go from 0 to 60. You really have to go one by one in order for everybody to be on board and to really be ready for the change. So I'll stop there.
No, that's amazing, and I'm smiling and I'm laughing as well because every time I ordered delivery recently, since I know you and your work, I smile to myself when I see that plastic utensils box unchecked, and I even once got it even though it was not checked, and I called the restaurant and I said,
good for you. That's exactly what we want people to do, because you need to reinstate the new normal. So yeah, and by the way, everybody, I've had friends call me. I am having a salad with no fork because I asked for it and they didn't give it to me. So we have the reverse too. So I get everybody's upset sometimes with their lunches, with their salad with no fork. So, and that's when I say bring your own. That's the key thing here is BYO. That's what we call it.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing, Sheila. And all of you panelists, want to let you know, I'm not sure if you're monitoring the chat, but you're have a lot of fans and everybody's excited about your work. So maybe we'll go to Seema. Seema, what's one thing that you did in environmental activism, environmental work recently that makes you proud or happy or hopeful?
Actually, that one thing is what we are currently doing. And due to our work and projects and being spread and our work in all 11 regions, Yerevan and 10 regions of Armenia, we travel a lot. And again, it's called to like random personal meeting. When we were in Darat village of Lori region, we just started talking with women. You know, when you go, like you ask them, how is life, how is education, how kids, kindergarten and everything. And then one of these women says like, okay, I don't have much time. I have to take my laundry to the river. And we were like, what? Laundry to the river? Like it happened last year, literally. And then we followed her, of course. We started asking people, and we have found out that actually every fourth family doesn't have access to water, even though there is water pipeline, but there is no direct water coming into the houses. So women, as the main responsible people for the households, they carry the water, but that's heavy, that's only enough for cooking and doing some cleaning. So the main things such as laundry, they take and do it in the river. And then we said, okay, we have to change it. We came up with this little bit of crazy idea because it's a normal standard idea, but very unique and sounds crazy for Armenia, to open a public laundry room, which does not exist in Armenia. We did have those 30 years ago during Soviet times, but somehow they vanished. Nobody remembers about them and nobody is using. So we don't have that culture either. We thought that we should pilot it, but not only construct and start the laundry room, the most important thing for us is, again, education. We have to educate, first of all, the people living in the village and telling them, how these detergents and how this doing laundry in the river affects the flora and fauna and nature around them, especially given the fact that some kilometers further they go for fishing. It's like was mind-blowing. So that is one of our recent projects, which is called Lave Lava, translated into English means wash well. So super soon you'll be hearing a lot about our campaign. We have created these funny stickers with women and men doing laundry in different situations. And also we want to have it nice and I'm calling it like photogenic, visible project, also for people to be attracted to come and to have a place not only to do the laundry, but socializing too. So we're going step by step, meeting women, explaining. We're taking with us our friends who are environmental specialists, and they can explain it in better way. They can show how and what affects it all. So this is, and I'm kind of proud of this project because we are going to be one and only in Armenia at least. And the regional government, yeah, they contacted us and asked like, why don't you spread? I was like, okay, let us pilot it, let us test it here, and then we'll see. So this is the recent thing we're doing, actually.
That's amazing. I actually knew about this project, but I completely forgot, to be honest, Sima, and that makes me so happy because it touches not upon, like it impacts, positively impacts not only the environment, but also, you know, creates entrepreneurship opportunities and helps, you know, makes women's lives easy. It, you know, it touches so many aspects of life in that region. And yeah, Jean Marie, I'm already hopeful. I'm sure this conversation is making you more hopeful for the future. But anything you have done recently that you're proud of?
Sure, so many great stories. And you know, whenever I go to Armenia, I'm always meeting people who live there or who are traveling there from other parts of the world who have these great ideas and these great projects. I mean, there is so much energy around making Armenia an even better place that it's very inspiring. So our Armenia Tree Project does a lot, right? I said before, we planted almost 7 million trees. But around this time last year, we were talking about what can we do to help the people of Artsakh. You know, over the years, we've always planted trees in Artsakh, but we do our community tree planting program, which does help to revitalize communities. But what is their need? And one of the things we heard was that some of the land that was lost in the 2020 war was farmland. So now farmers have less available land to plant their crops on. And could there be a future food shortage? That is a concern because food is being brought in from Armenia and it's expensive. So we thought about what can we do to help these farmers? And, you know, we do trees. We're not a farming organization, but we do know a lot about greenhouses. So we came up with a project to give, starting this year, 50 families in villages in Artsakh, small backyard greenhouses. And we will work with them to plant vegetables and herbs to extend the growing season, or perhaps even grow year round, so that they can increase the productivity of the land that they have available to them. And they can have additional food to either consume or to sell if that's appropriate for their family. In addition, of course, we are the Tree Project. We are giving each of these families about a dozen fruit trees, and we'll instruct them on how to care for the fruit trees. So we started talking about that project around this time last year. The team got together, went to Artsakh, talked to local people, got some buy-in. We found a partner who could help us educate people on how to use these greenhouses. And when we told our supporters about it, the donations came pouring in. And so the greenhouses are going to be on the ground by June, and people should be having vegetables come out of them by this coming fall. And we're very excited about it. It's really a concrete way that we can help these people. And we know that it's important for these people who live in these remote villages in Artsakh to be able to stay there in their home villages. Life is very challenging for them. And if there's a way that we can help them, we want to do that. And so for the start of this project this year, when we're starting with 50 families, we looked for families who were most affected by the war, somebody who had lost, a husband or a son in the war, lost their home and had to be relocated to a new place, that type of thing. An interesting aspect of it is you see so much energy around young people. Around the time we were talking about doing these greenhouses for farmers in Otsark, the Worcester Polytech Institute from Worcester, Massachusetts reached out to us. They have a joint program with the American University of Armenia. And in past years, before the pandemic, they used to have students come from Armenia to Worcester and vice versa, and they would work on projects together. Well, because of COVID, nobody was traveling, but they wanted to know, was there a project that we needed their engineering students to help with? And so we got these young engineering students to design this small, easy to construct greenhouse that you can make with locally available materials at low cost that will help these farmers expand the crops that they can grow and expand the growing season. So that's a recent accomplishment that I'm very proud of. We recently sent out, and it's on our website, our annual report, which is chock full of statistics about our trees and how many hectares of new forest we planted and all the varieties and our great survival rate and all those things. And I'm very proud of all of it. But that's a recent accomplishment that's really amazing. So.
It is. It's very impactful. Thank you for sharing. And as you were sharing, I was thinking there are so many amazing ways to help the environment. And it's overwhelming, to be honest, at least for me, I'm sure for many others as well. There are so many ways to get involved, so many different levels. You can be an activist, you can be targeting your own habits, you can go and advocate at government level. There are different ways you can be involved. I wanted to ask your opinion. How would you recommend people get involved so it's not overwhelming and it's still impactful? Yeah, let's start with Sheila. Go ahead and share if you have any favorite ways to be involved as an environmental activist.
I think it's important to remember how much each of us actually make a difference. One of the ways that we describe this is every time we have an event, we have every single person have a candle, and we ask them all to light their candle and hold it up so that we can see the sea of candles. And if each person thought, oh, I'm just one person, I'm just one candle, I'm not going to light my candle, you end up with so many dark spots and gaps. And it's a really inspiring way to really show people how much their actions matter, because what you do then inspires the person next to you and the person next to you. So we all have to be accountable for this planet. And I think that it can start from the moment you wake up and you open your eyes. You have decisions to make all day long. And those decisions might be the tiniest little habit of waste, such as the simple turn off the water while you brush your teeth, to taking a short shower versus a long shower, maybe having some more plant-based foods in your diet. So there are ways, and our website is full of opportunities for people to do better. Then you can take it a step further. So outside of your own, environment, it's like when you get a package and there's a ton of plastic waste in it, take a picture and post it and tag the company that sent that to you. Social media is such a key way to make a difference because these companies don't want to be tagged about anything negative. And if enough of us do it, then they're like, okay, this is the culture now, we have to change. And then finally, again, back to our website or petitions or whatever, there are ways that you can email, maybe it's a government official, maybe it's participating in laws, maybe it's just simply writing the emails like we did to the food delivery applications, and you just click once and it's done. So there are a lot of ways, I think, that we have power, and we have to just remind ourselves of the power we have.
That's very powerful. Not to repeat the word, but that's what came to mind. Thank you for sharing. Jean Marie, any ways you would recommend people get involved?
Well, I 100% second what Sheila just said. I mean, there are very simple ways for people to get involved on a daily basis by changing some of their habits. Some of the issues that are happening in Armenia are big issues that the individual can't tackle, right? I mean, people cut down trees to burn them to heat their homes because they don't have a cost-effective alternative for heating their homes. And that's a big issue that you and I as individuals cannot solve. But what can we do on a daily basis? We can change some of our habits. People who live in the United States, we can switch to solar energy in our homes. We can drive a more efficient car. We can stop using plastic cutlery and straws, you know, all of those things. And one of the things we've done at Armenia Tree Project is education and outreach. So we're trying to reach, in particular, the younger generation, because it's really important that the next generation of young people, wherever they are in the world, are better caretakers of the environment than we have been or our parents have been. And so we have, and we're going to talk about this in a minute, but in Armenia Tree Project, we have 2 environmental education centers in Armenia. We routinely get about 5,000 student visitors every year, and we do outreach to schools all over the country, and in Artsakh, we do little eco camps, and we have some eco clubs in a number of schools around Armenia. Here in the diaspora, we also do outreach to schools, and we're in about 100 schools in North America, teaching students about the environment in general and about the environment in Armenia in particular. So education, we think, is very important. When the people heard what Sheila was saying about, you know, it's very easy, just don't ask for the plastic cutlery, they said, oh, that's a little change that I can make. And she talked about the huge impact, right? And, you know, millions of dollars, millions of waste kept from the from going into the system. Let's all do our part.
Yeah, no, makes absolute sense. Seema, what's your thought on how people can get involved?
I 100% agree with Sheila Jean-Marie, and joining every single word can sign. And my approach is to start from ourselves, our families and friends, serving by example. Like, it's a simple, very simple thing. And I know that sometimes starting something can be very challenging, can be very hard. Sometimes I have looked so many times weird and strange when I have picked up a bottle thrown by an old man or a kid to pick it up on the street and throw to the trash bin. I know it's weird for passerbys, for others, but still it's a small thing that changes the environment, improves it, makes it a little bit cleaner, and also changes the attitude of the person who saw it. So starting from ourselves, and we always, during our projects, we always suggest the younger ones to take care of our planet exactly the same way as we take care of our homes. We love it, we clean it, we make it beautiful. So we have to keep in mind that our planet is our bigger home. And if we keep that in mind, we will completely change the attitude. We won't damage it, we won't harm it, we won't make it dirty and ugly. This is like my attitude and approach and recommendation.
No, that's a great approach, and I think there was a thread as well that it comes down to you, and the only way not to be overwhelmed is to control what you can control, and that's your action. So if you can have less wasteful habits, that's a great start. So we spoke a little bit, and all of you spoke about how it's challenging and the lack of urgency and progress on governmental level or even at an individual level can be very frustrating. And you're in your line of work, you need to wake up every day and do this every day. You don't have a break. I am just wondering what gives you hope and what lights the fire and what keeps you going every day. Sheila, if you want to share what keeps you going.
Yeah, actually, it's similar to a little bit off of what Jean-Marie was saying. It's a top-down, bottom-up effect. So you have to create pressure. And so if we as operations, they're like, no one cares. So why should we? So if we don't do our part and add the pressure from under here, they're not going to come and meet us. So that's what keeps me going, because I know if we make enough noise down here as a grassroots organization and getting people excited and angry to say, come on, guys, do something, then they're not going to be listening. So I think that that's what motivates me, because I understand that there is a solution. I understand what it takes to the formula, essentially, to get enough people riled up, enough people angry, enough noise made, enough corporations, maybe like the Uber Eats of the world, to participate in something and to show the government, look at, we have a solution, we have an answer, and we want this now. And then they respond. So it's really more than just the individual, for sure. It's about everything. So we want to create that pressure as often and as much as possible. So it really does begin with us. As much as people say, oh, individuals, it's just like so silly, don't think about that. If individuals don't collectively behave in a certain way and demand action, no one up here is going to listen. So that's my motivation every day, to come up with ways to create that pressure system.
Amazing. And before we move forward, I want to remind everyone that if you have any questions in mind, put in the chat, I'll monitor, and once we start the Q&A, I can ask those as well. You can always put in the chat, or we can help you come off mute and ask the question as well. But wanted to remind that to everyone. Sheila, I know I've seen a video and I absolutely love it. I'm not sure if you would mind if we share that, because it's a video of the work you do, and why I love it. It gives everyone hope, and everyone simple ways that and simple things that they can do every day to contribute to the environmental movement. And maybe it will give everyone a reason to keep going every day, if you don't mind.
Please feel free to share.
Okay. Let me know if you can hear and see it. Wow.
At Habits of Waste, we identify problems and come up with solutions to protect this planet. We want people to understand you matter. You actually can make the difference. Crayon collection was born because I learned that there was 150 million crayons being thrown away by restaurants alone. So I started by asking restaurants to collect their crayons and finding a local school within 5 miles to pick them up once a month. We created art education programming with those crayons, and essentially it became this organization that grew to all 50 states, 10 countries. We set a Guinness World Record. We've saved over 20 million crayons to date, and it keeps going. It was in those same restaurants that I kept seeing the plastic straws on everybody's table. I mean, you order a glass of water, it came with a straw in it. I saw that there was 500 million plastic straws being thrown away per day in the US alone. And I realized we can do something about this. So we spearheaded the first plastic straw and cutlery ban in history. And subsequently, we saw city after city after city, country after country participate. We saw that there's 40 billion packs of plastic cutlery produced per year with the sole intention of being used once and thrown in the garbage. So we thought, well, what if we were to change the default setting on these food delivery applications to make plastic cutlery available by opt-in only? 14,000 people wrote emails in, and one by one, we convinced them to change their default setting. We learned that Postmates, within a year, was able to save 120 million packs of plastic cutlery. That equates to $3.2 million in savings for restaurants. So we took that information and we took it all the way up to the highest level here in the state of California, and we just passed AB 1276, so that every restaurant can only provide plastic cutlery upon request. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work. But then you turn on the TV and you see your favorite actor or actress drinking out of a plastic water bottle, having their salad in a plastic container with a plastic fork. We love our movies, we love our TV shows, but subliminally, they're telling us something. They're telling us what is and is not acceptable throughout society. So we wanted to create a campaign, which is now called Lights, Camera, Plastic, where we reduce or hopefully eliminate single-use plastic from being seen on screen as often as possible. We're trying our best to get into every single studio and get them to understand that we don't want to see single-use plastic anymore. It's time to denormalize it. So many times environmentalism is about changing systems in a grand scale. However, I believe strongly that it starts with us. We have to make a modification in our own daily lives, and then it builds and builds and builds. Before you know it, you have change happen on a really big scale. If Western cultures were to eat 40% less animal products, we create enough carbon offset to combat climate change. period. Usually we eat about 21 meals, so 40% of that's 8 meals. Eat 8 plant-based meals a week. See how that feels. We created this cool app where there's quizzes, there's ways you can take photographs, you can talk to your friends, you can share your progress, you can find really cool recipes, plug them into your calendar, and then in the end, you track how much of a carbon offset you've created. I think this is a door opener for the imperfect environmentalists, because we don't want just a handful of people doing it perfectly. We want a lot of people doing it imperfectly. We're part of this planet, just like all the animals are, just like the trees grow out of this earth, we do too. And my hope is that we start to remember how close we actually are to this planet and how important it is to protect it. We can make a change. We can make a difference. We cannot give up. We can do this together.
Okay. Sheila, I love the term imperfect environmentalist because it just takes the pressure out of you and helps you do whatever you can a little bit more every day. I just absolutely love it, and it gives me hope and fires me every day as well. So thank you for that. Sima, in a couple of words, what keeps you going? I know it can be very challenging doing this work in Armenia.
Sorry, I was muted.
All good.
So what keeps me going? I think like first of all, we must understand, like everybody must understand that by saying activism, we don't mean being like big scale events, bringing together 100 people, 1,000 people. We can start in small groups, but the most important thing is to be very, very, very persistent. I know it's like, especially in this topic, especially in Armenia, you repeat, you fail, you repeat, you fail. But the more persistent you are, the more are chances that one day we will succeed. And this is the one of the things that keeps me going. And I was just discussing with my colleague, like, for me, sometimes we look like this Armenian saying goes like, Jura karetzakum, like if you drop water on a stone constantly, one day it will break. So this is how I see it, at least in Armenia, because here the challenges are more. It's not as easy to knock the door of the government, to make them change the laws. It's super close to impossible, but still we are trying.
Thank you for sharing, Sima. Jean Marie, I know you have some tips on how to be motivated every day, but you also have very special guests today. I'll let you, share what you have in mind as well, and we'd love to give our young activists a platform as well.
Yeah, so thank you. One of the things that motivates me is these young people who so enthusiastically embrace the idea that they can make a difference in the environment. And I mentioned earlier that we have this environmental education program, which involves thousands of young people all over Armenia and in the diaspora. And so we invited a few of the activists from one of our eco clubs in Yerevan. And what's interesting to me, so these students volunteer to participate in eco clubs, and the overwhelming majority of the volunteers are young women. And so they're self-selecting the leaders who are young women, leaders of the future. And so we've included a few of them from one of the schools in Yerevan, where we have a very active eco club, and they're going to introduce themselves and briefly tell you a little bit about the activities that their eco club is engaging in. Okay, Satanik, it's your turn.
Hi, everyone. I would like to start by saying that this is a great honor for me to take part in this discussion. I am Satanik, ATP Eco Club student from Yerevan, high school number 97. Let me also introduce my classmates, Olia, hi everyone, Angela, hi everyone, and Karine, hi, who are Eco Club members as well. My friends and I became Eco Club members 4 years ago. Back then, we didn't have much idea of the huge environmental problems that our planet was facing. The environmental trainings conducted within the framework of the Eco Club helped us to gain a deeper understanding of the importance and necessity of caring for Mother Nature, which is the source of life and continuation. We must speak to our friends, families, and neighbors about our changing planet and what we can do as global citizens. As it stands, far too many people remain uninformed about climate change, which makes education and civic engagement all the more important. It has been said, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And I truly believe that the change we seek comes from us.
We are glad that our Eco Club friends has given us the opportunity to take these small steps for change. Perhaps our steps are a very small contribution to the greater fight against global environmental issues, but we are still proud that we have developed eco-friendly ways of thinking and are very attentive to nature protection. As part of Eco Club, we took part in many community cleanups and tree plantings, as well as planned and implemented a number of environmental projects at our school. To start, we studied the topic of waste management. Based on that, we learned we recycled waste collected from the school area and nearby territories. Then we made benches, tables, and other decorative items for the schoolyard, as well as a bicycle parking stand in order to stimulate the use of environmental cleaner vehicles, therefore reducing CO2 emissions. We established an outdoor eco-classroom in the schoolyard, which was decorated with items made from recycled waste. There we conduct environmental lessons and hands-on activities, sharing our knowledge with other school students. The purpose of this to spread awareness of environmental issues to as many people as possible, thereby motivating them to adopt environmentally responsible behavior.
We would like to emphasize one important fact that the role and participations of girls prevailed in all these actions. Perhaps this is because in our school, girls primarily have very high academic performance and activity. But additionally, I believe that the involvement of girls in these eco-clubs greatly contributes to the dissemination of information about environmental problems, because girls will be always more active in sharing their experiences with others, telling about what interesting initiatives they have taken or what they have learned. For example, when we look at individuals such as Greta Tonberg, we see what impact the voice of a young woman can have. As many of you may know, Greta Tonberg led a strike at her school in Sweden when she was only 15 years old, in order to raise awareness of the climate change crisis. Many people across the globe, we included, have taken notice in her actions, and her words have inspired others to take action as well. We have taken eco-friendly behavior to our families, for example, reducing food waste, saving water, electricity, sorting out waste, and so on. I am sure that in the future, my friends and I will show eco-friendly behavior in our future families as well.
Still, you may ask, why should a woman carry the solution to these problems on her shoulders? The answer is simple. Woman is the only creature who gives birth and carries the child under her heart for 9 months. Hence, woman can save the nature because woman feels the nature and nature feels the woman. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, girls. I'm not sure if you were able to finish, but you were cutting there a little bit. No,
right at the end, they cut off a little bit, but that was great. Thank you, girls.
Thank you so much. And I will not lie. Thank you so much. I will not lie, we specifically arranged it in a way so that you speak at the end, because we absolutely knew that you're going to be the most inspiration at this discussion. You really give hope to everyone, and I'm so proud of you and the work you do. I mean, you're absolutely amazing, and continue doing the work. And we're definitely rooting for you, and we're big fans of you and your work. And thank you, ATP, for giving these young girls the opportunity to be environmental activists.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very inspired now, and I see questions coming in the chat. And girls, you have a lot of fans in the chat as well, and among our audience members. A quick question for ATP before we move to the other questions. How many eco clubs are there in Armenia?
I think right now we're at about 20. But if the chatter has a school where they'd like to establish one, they should definitely reach out to us and we can talk about it.
Great, thank you. One question that we have to all the panelists: any new projects you have in the coming future you want to share? Yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
One of our most exciting ones is getting people to be part of our 8 Meals campaign, which is reducing the animal protein intake by 40%. It's the equivalent of driving a hybrid car for a year. And we're really going to put the pedal to the metal on this one this next year and try to get a lot more people engaged and involved with this one. It's actually a very tangible and realistic goal to eat 8 plant-based meals a week, because of the it's not all or nothing. There's no failure here. So we're really excited about that. And we have a new app that we mentioned in the video that is free for everyone to use, and it tracks your carbon. And we've also created this carbon challenge on the same idea, but with all different categories, so that you can track your carbon offset by doing those little things. And that's going to go live on April 1st for Earth Month on our website.
Amazing. I'll definitely be looking forward to that. Jean Marie, to kind of disrupt the order of the way you were answering, any upcoming projects you want to
Sure. Well, I mentioned the projects that we're working on in ARTSOC. In addition, it's going to be spring planting time soon. And every year we plant thousands of trees all over Armenia. In fact, this coming spring planting season 2022, we anticipate that we'll plant 425,000 trees all over Armenia. And when we do that, we hire hundreds of local villagers to work with us for the season. And it's exciting to us to be able to give people this economic opportunity to engage the local villagers. They're excited when we come to town because they live in remote places where there aren't lots of job opportunities. And we hear from them that they enjoy being able to participate in work that not only pays well, but also makes a difference in their community. And over the years, up until the pandemic, in fact, most of the people who joined us as seasonal workers were women, because as people who are familiar with Armenia will know, it's women in the villages, right? And the men leave for seasonal work to go to other parts of the world. Since the pandemic, that's changed a little bit. We welcome everybody who wants to come and help us. It's tough work, these remote areas on top of a mountain where you're planting a forest using nothing but a shovel, but we love it, they love it. So that's coming up this spring, big year for us. We've never planted that many trees in a single season, but we're doing 425,000 trees this spring.
That's exciting. Thank you for sharing, Jean Marie. Seema, any upcoming projects you're excited about?
Yep. Actually, I'm super happy that I'm on this panel with Jean Marie, because I was going to contact Armenian Tree Project to partner in our Lavlava project because last year we had our Empower mentoring project where the participants, the kids, were given an assignment to propose a project that is doable, realistic, and is within the Sustainable Development Goals. And the group had to vote for one project. So that one project that won was to plant the trees in our Lavlava area. So expect us with our partnership suggestion. That is one thing. And second, I have mentioned earlier at the beginning of the conversation that we have been providing scholarships to the women and men who wanted to learn something new and to get some jobs. And there are so many women who learned sewing, and since many of them were doing the same similar work, which is later very hard to sell in the market because let's say there are so many canvas bags. Then we came up with this idea to teach them, along with the designers, to use recycled clothes for redesigning. And this project, we have it on the paper now, but since we need lots of resources, more than unfortunately we were able to cover. So we are looking now currently for additional funding, but I'm hoping that at least this year, this will be one of our projects. I've seen these shops in Berlin and everywhere in Europe, US, where people make one piece of cloth out of several donated things. So this is like a general idea and very quick what I'm explaining to, but the project is called Up and Up. We want to level up the quality of life of women and bring in new fashion.
Amazing. Thank you. I love how we are creating partnerships with this discussion as well. Good luck with the project. We have a quick question on wastewater management. It's a specific question, so it's fine if you don't have any answers, but I think the question was, do you know of any websites and resources on on water usage and waste? Anything that comes to mind? I know it's a very specific question, so it's fine if not.
Well, for ATP has prepared some curriculum for students on water usage and waste. We do have that available if the chatter wants to write to me. There are a lot of resources out there, and Armenia right now is in pretty good shape in terms of water supply. But could face a future of water shortages because over the years that data was kept. The most recent data we have is from sort of the end of the Soviet Union. It looks like during the 20th century, the groundwater levels in the Ararat Valley were reducing, and that the reduction in groundwater levels in the Ararat Valley were accelerating, which may be associated with man-made activity. It may not be, but anyway, that's a concern. You can imagine as Armenia undergoes a gradual process of desertification, if Armenia became dependent on its neighbors.
I hope you're okay, Jean Marie. Take your time.
I'm so sorry.
No worries. One of the hazards of being an immigrant.
I'm just getting over a cold. We don't want Armenia to become dependent on its neighbors for water. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. That's an important point. And I know we have a lot of encouragement in the chat. People want to connect, and people are so supportive of the work that Eco Club does, girls, and Sheila and CMAP for your work as well. I'm very proud of how we managed our time today. So maybe we can give everyone time back. If no one else has any questions, if you do, feel free to add in the chat. But if not, I'm happy to wrap up and finish this early to give everyone time back. I just am very inspired and very honored to have had the chance and the opportunity to have you on the call. Each of you brought amazing insights, and I truly appreciate the time as well as the work you do. So thank you so much for joining today on behalf of AWA and the AWA UN team. Again, thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to join us, and want to thank our AWA UN team members on the call and all the AWA members on the call in attendance today. Thank you for your support, and all the participants as well for joining us on a Saturday. Thank you again, and goodbye, everyone. Have a great rest of the weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, girls.